Hello, my name is Ahmed, and I'm walking you through creating a project and also publishing a project on swiftXR. If you are logged in on swiftXR, you would see this account tab. Clicking it, you can switch from your personal account to a team account. I'm currently on the swiftXR team account, and I can see the credits here. The account tab gives you access to other pages on swiftXR, such as buying credits, updating your settings, viewing our documentation, or contacting our support, or you can also sign out also. I'll start by creating a project. If you're coming in for the first time, your project listing would be empty, but because I have done quite a lot of work on swiftXR, I can see all my project listed. I'll start by creating a project by clicking this button. I can choose from either selecting a product demo, the happy birthday template, or the artwork template. But because I want to create a custom project, I'll be starting with a blank page, and I would then customize the project as I go forward further. I'll call the project sample project tutorial, and I'm free to also give it a description, but I would leave it blank. If I decide to initialize the project with the swiftXR default assets, we've loaded some models that you can test with in the project. But if you uncheck this, it would not come with the project, with the assets. But clicking it, I want to test with this asset. And present create would create the project, and I would be in the editor. If I want to go back to the hub, I can always click this icon, and that would ask me to leave or cancel just to confirm the action. If I press leave, that would take me back to the home page, and I can see the project already created already, and I can click it back to enter. In the editor, I have the top panel, which involves key actions in the workspace. I have the main layout, or the main container where action regarding customizing the editor. Then I have the bottom panel, which involves adding components or assets to the canvas. I'll start with testing the default assets. So because I selected start with the swiftXR default assets, I can see all these three models. If I did not select the start with swiftXR default assets when I was creating the project, it would be an empty project. Now this is always a quick way to test. I can easily drag and drop this in the editor just to see the type of model that I have here. In my design components, I can select the basic component. This is going to show all the type of component I have currently on swiftXR, which is columns, 3 columns, image, text. I also have the 3D e-commerce, the 3D and e-commerce component, which is the model viewer, AR model viewer, and indexable model viewer. I have the artwork and NFT, which I would also play around with. And I have the avatar. If I want to create a ready play my avatar currently as it's writing, as of recording. So to start by customizing my space, I would select a component. I'll start with a 3x3 column just to test these models. I can drop the first one here, I can drop the second one here, and I can drop the third one here, and I can see all the default asset that came on swiftXR. Again, this is just to test the hypothesis. This is a test. Okay, can I read model value on swiftXR? And I can see it's working well. I can switch from mobile view to desktop view. The columns are responsive, so you don't need to do any work. When you switch to mobile view, it's going to auto-calibrate itself and switch to a vertical mode. If you go back to desktop view, it's going to give you in vertical mode. I can change my theme to light mode or dark mode, any one that I prefer to work with. I can pan around, so if I can move this canvas around by enable the panning. I can reset it back. So in case I've zoomed in using this button, I can press this to reset back. I can also preview the page here, and I can enter full screen mode. I can also undo some of the changes I've done, which includes stuff here. And I can also redo them back if I want. I can clear the canvas to make it empty, and I can also undo my changes back. I can delete a specific component by pressing delete elements, and I can also undo it back. And that's about the top panel. I can view the current code that is made up, that this place is made up using the view source code. I can embed the project, but currently now, because I have not deployed this project, I cannot embed this project. Embedding means I want this project to be viewable on another website. I can export the project as a zip, and I can also publish the project. This means I want to take the project online, and I can share this URL with anyone. So to start with, I have some couple of models that I would like to, that I want to display and I want to publish. So I'm going to import the model inside. I can either use the import button here to import it, or I can drag and drop it. I'll use the drag and drop approach. So I'm going to import the 3 models here. And by importing the 3 models, you can see the model. I have a main truck, which is an FBX model. I have a robotic arm, which is a GLB model. And I have a truck body, which is an FBX model. Okay, so I'm going to clear the canvas so I can start the work. At the same time, the layers tab shows you drop downs. So it shows you, okay, every object that you have currently have in your scene, where it is currently in display, and you can always arrange it from here. Or again, but this helps you, this lists out all the objects in your scene. So I'm going to clear my canvas. Yeah, awesome. So it's now time to design what I want. You can also delete project from here. So I can click, for example, the main truck, the FBX, and just try and delete it. That works, and I'll just import it back because I don't want to delete it. So I'll start by designing what I want to send out to the design. So ideally, I want a page with the truck, the robotic arm, and then I just want a couple of texts together with it. But then I want to give some different kind of colors and styles. And so I'll start by starting with a 1 column. Again, this helps me set the interface with a couple of padding. Yeah. So it just gives me a container space where I can just try and adjust here. But now I can just customize it. Again, it's just an approach that I always recommend. Then I'll drop the main truck or the truck body.fbx, which is this. So by default, what is viewable on the web, it's a GLB, right? And what GLB means is that for you to be able to render any 3D model on the web, or for easy transmission of that model, it has to be a GLB. So what swiftXR does under the hood is it takes any type of model that you pass in, whether it's FBX, OBJ, STL, and we convert that into a GLB model. And you can see we've converted the truck body.fbx into a swiftXR.glb. So this is a swiftXR type GLB model that you currently have here. So you can see it and I can view it. I probably want to drop a couple of text just to make it obvious. So I'll probably put a text on top here. And you can see the text here. I can also just edit it and I can say truck panel. Now the text is a little bit small, and this is where you get to use the inspector. So the inspector involves customizing anything you see on the canvas. And talking about that, my workspace looks a little bit too small, so I'm going to collapse my lower component by pressing this. Now I have this. By selecting on the truck panel, I can go to my inspector and I have my component description, which shows me everything. Layout involves size alignment, involves with the particular component. Dimension involves the height or width I want to give this particular component, without a couple of margin and pad. And the reason why I have some couple of spaces here is because of the padding. If I give the padding top 0, you see that there's no longer space again in the top. But then if I change it back to 10, there's now space in the top. Then you can also set the width and height. I have typography, which involves the font size, the font weight, the height, and type of just font description for this component. I have the borders, which involves if I want a couple of border radius, which we are going to use for the model viewer to give you some border radius across the edges. I also have the decoration tab, which involves setting the background color, which I can do. Say I want the background color of this to be a different kind of color. You can also set an opacity, which if you want to make it visible, a transition, perspective, and also a transform. So I'll start by increasing the font size because I want this thing. It's like this is an header, and I need it to be bigger. So I'll go to typography. I'll change my font style to vertical because it's more fun. I prefer vertical. Then font width, I'll make it bold. Then for my font size, I'll give it 25 pixel. By default, we set the unit to pixel, but you are free to change it to whatever unit you want by clicking pixel. Yeah. So by setting 24 pixel, then it's here that this is the truck panel. I can set this one back to 0. So I have the truck panel. And the next thing I want to do is I want to give this model viewer a certain background color and maybe give it some couple of some curves around the edges. So I'll go to my border and I can give it a border radius of 20 pixel, and that makes, you can see that gives it that edge, which I can see my preview. If I go to preview, you can see the edge it gives the model viewer components. Now so I would like to give it a background color, and I'll go to decorations. In my decorations tab, I can set a particular hash color I want. For this one, I want it to be a little bit yeah, kind of hash is what I want. So I think this is good. So with this, I'm happy with what I have currently. For the second part, I want to add the robotic arm. And for this, I am going to select the basic components. Rather, I can drop the model viewer. So if I want to add a component to the canvas, I can either select from here and drop the component in the tab here, which still works, or I can delete this, drop a particular component I want here, either a model viewer, which is going to be a normal 3D viewer, or a model viewer with AR, and this is going to be a model viewer that you can trigger to go into AR. I'll drop the model viewer AR here. It's going to by default come with the default swiftXR box, and if you want to change it, you then go to the Configurator tab. Now, the Configurator tab is particularly designed to be separate for each component. So if I click the Configurator tab for a model viewer, I have this. If I click the Configurator tab for an image, I have this. If I click the Configurator tab for a column, I have this. So the Configurator tab involves certain description about the component that you want to configure. Ideally, for a model viewer AR, everything you have there involves how you want the object to respond in AR, such as you can change the object type here. So I can drop the robotic arm here. That should by default change the default model type here. I can say I want to enable mouse control, and mouse control means if I press this, you can see I can no longer rotate anymore. If I enable mouse control, now I can now rotate across. If I disable the automatic rotation, what it means is that the model won't be rotating the way this is rotating. Instead, if I enable automatic rotation, now after some period of seconds, it's going to start rotating, as you can see. It has a couple of animations, which is explode and simulate, and if I enable animation, by default, this should start playing the animation. As you can see, I'm gonna move this outside of here, so it's much bigger. As you can see, we have the animation plane. I can also change the animation type I want, which is just normal simulation. Yeah. Selecting support AR mode. This means that this model will be able to go into AR. If I disable it, it means the model won't be able to go into AR and it's just going to be in 3D mode. For the AR quick look, we have native or WebXR, which is depending on what you want. If you select native, it means it will trigger this model to open an app on your phone. But if you select WebXR, it's going to trigger AR directly on your Chrome browser. We have other stuff like AR detection mode if you wanted to place the object on a wall or on a floor. We have a zoom level, which you can configure like how closely you want the object to be zoomed in. You have shadow strength, which also involves the thickness of the shadow. You have shadow softness, which also involves how clear you want the shadow to be. Either you want it to be crisp or you want it to be feathered. Ideally, depends on the type of shadow that you want. You also have light exposure, which also determines how light affects the model. Then we have a couple of environments. You can pick a neutral environment to make it much more realistic, or you can pick a default environment, which is still the same stuff. But if you're looking for realism, you can select a neutral environment. And we have the default type, which is lazy either auto. So this affects how quickly the model loads. So since I am done here, what I want to do is I would want to add another header here for this one. And I'm going to come here and maybe probably drop like a column here, just right here. I can move the model viewer inside the column, which is what I want. And if at top of the model viewer here, I can now drop another text here, top of it, and I have the text. And the text here, I will call this a robotic arm. So I can select the text components, go to my inspector, go to typography. I can change the weight to bold, similar way I did, 24 pixel, and change this to L vertical. And that gives me a robotic arm. Now I may want some particular design about this. Maybe I want this background to be a little bit, yellowish. So I can adjust that to the decorations and switch this to more of the yellow type. With this, that's what I want. Something around there. Okay, not bad. And if I want some space here, so sometimes it might be hard to actually adjust stuff here because of the canvas limitation. So what you can do is you can actually try to zoom out. Now this gives you more space, and you can now easily rotate down, which actually help you adjust your page canvas. Yeah. And with this, I am done with the design I want to do, and I can see everything already. Yeah. You can also go to your mobile view to see how it's going to look like in mobile. So as long as you have, maybe I probably want this to go up a little bit. I don't want it to be like this in mobile. I can adjust this manually, or I can do this from a dimension tab by actually setting it a particular dimension. Maybe I want this to be 350 pixel. This looks too big, so I can take it up just to match it. And I notice that whenever I switch to my desktop mode, it's auto response with it. So desktop mode still select my 500 pixel that I had initially, but when I go to my mobile view, it switch back to 350. And this is how you can use swiftXR to create responsive mini site that you want to do. I can reset this to make it max back. And I think this is pretty much what I want to share. And as long as I am happy with what I have, I can go to preview how it's going to look like. Okay, I think I'm happy with the talk truck. It does not have any texture. I'm also going to scroll down, and I'm happy with the robotic arm, which is also perfect the way I want it. And with this, I am good to go, and I want to publish and share this. So I'm going to select publish. I like this name the way it is, and I'll click publish. By clicking publish, it's going to bundle the project, calculate the amount of size it's going to require us to deploy, and it's going to deploy it, which is really fast. I'll wait for that. And yes, the site is published. Now the site being published means that I can either open the link to share it, or I can select a QR code to share with anyone to scan the project to say it, or I can share the link with my friends on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Twitter, or on LinkedIn. I can also unpublish the project if I want to unpublish the project, which sometimes, we do actually advise unpublish, because when you unpublish, you lose the one credit update. So whenever you publish a project, you spend how large your project is. You spend like a certain publish size, is a certain credit size the first time you're publishing, which you can find on our pricing page. But the next time you're trying to update, we only charge 1 credit for updates. So, but whenever you unpublish the site and you try to publish back, we would have to start our competition again from afresh. So only unpublish when you're sure that you actually want to unpublish the project, and you don't need it anymore again, or you need to just take it down. And with this, you can open the link, which is going to open the project. And now, as you can see, it is live, looking really nice the way I want it. And also here, the opposite camera is also looking nice with also the thick shadow I gave it. And this is what makes swiftXR interesting, because unlike other platforms or other apps where you are limited to just a single design or app, with swiftXR you can have multiple. You can have multiple of these. You can drop as many components that you want and just continue to customize and design it. And with this, I hope if I open this thing on a smartphone, I should be able to take it into AR. And I hope with this, you are able to understand more about swiftXR and eager and excited to see what you do with swiftXR. Thank you.